think that game probably has one of the best variations in soundtracks based on the mood because the gameplay is so diverse. And it's like, in one point you're like, you have a job where you're like sweeping and it's like they have a cool soundtrack for that. And then you're like in the gun shop buying guns and they've got another soundtrack for that.
And it's every soundtrack is just so different, unique.
Yeah.
See, that's what I miss about like older games.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Reticence Games podcast. I'm Nick.
I'm Arman.
And we are lifelong gamers as well as video game developers. And today we are going to be talking about a topic that's actually very meaningful to us, which is video game soundtracks and kind of what makes them interesting and impactful. So we are currently developing a game called Traveler's Refrain that is very music forward. I mean, the game is about a wandering musician who travels to a mystical forest to find his long lost love. And I mean, everything about it is completely musical. We are pushing that in our systems as well as in the game mechanics and everything. And it's funny because Arman and I have been friends for like 15 years, and we actually kind of met through a mutual friend because of music. Our friend Rafi was like, yeah, this guy Arman, he's really like into metal. I think you'd really like him. So that's kind of how we met. And obviously we
went to concerts together and stuff.
Started going to concerts together. Yeah. We're actually going to a concert tonight. So that's why we picked this topic. And we're actually going to a concert with one of the voice actors in our game. So Lee's playing two characters in our game. And he's from a band called Born of Osiris, which is Arman's shirt today.
Boo Crew, baby.
Yeah, we're gonna go see them tonight. So we thought it would be fitting to talk about music in games, talk about how we've integrated music into our game as well. So before we get into all that, we do want to let you guys know that if you've been interested in our game Traveler's Refrain, we are going to be participating in Steam Next Fest from June 10th to the 17th. We will have a public demo available for the first time to download and play. And if you want to be up to date with when we're going to be doing live streams and other sort of events during that week, join us in our Discord. We'll leave the link in the description below, and you can kind of chat with us. And we're going to be doing things like community events and stuff like that. So be sure to join and check that out. So before we go into talking about other games, I think it would be fun to kind of talk about what we've done with our game specifically to push that music forward thing. Maybe we could talk a little bit about our choice system thing.
Sure. Yeah. So in the game Traveler's Refrain, you're going to come to different decisions that you can make in some of the screens. And you're going to basically pick based on your mood, right? So you're going to pick based on your mood and how you feel Traveler is in that moment. And
because he's kind of like narrating like the events that are happening. So he'll be like, and then I came across this monster and I felt like this.
Right. So we have a bass track that's playing, right? We have a bass track. And as you make these decisions on your mood, we actually add layers to the bass track to match that mood.
Yeah.
So we continuously add those layers, and you'll hear new instruments come in, new drum beats and things like that. Our musician Milan did an excellent job, so shout out to you, Milan.
Yeah,
I'm excited to share like all those tracks with everybody. Once you get to a certain point, you'll kind of see a title for the track that you've created in each level. So we're looking forward to seeing what everyone thinks about that. I think it'll be a very subtle thing. I think it's not going to be in your face really, but you'll probably pick up on it if you've heard me talk about it, or if you're very keen on a lot of the details in the game. So
we basically wanted to create a system where you're running through the level in the game, and it's like you feel like you're actually developing the track as you're running through it based on these moods that you're picking. And like Arman said, Milan's been doing an awesome job. And what's been really cool too that we want to touch on, that we will touch on with some of these other games as well, is cultural influence being injected into the soundtrack. So obviously as artists and musicians, we kind of have our own inspirations that we take, that we put into our art. But what's cool is Milan is from Serbia, Arman's from Armenia, and I am Greek. So Milan has kind of taken some facets of our cultures and some like specific types of scales and stuff like that, and he likes to add them as little like highlights in the music. So that's been really cool to hear. So I think, yeah, like just before going into the big topic, like one off the top of my head is like The Witcher 3,
Right.
right? Like that game is a Polish game, and the Slavic musical influence is very,
Mm.
very apparent
Right.
throughout.
Right.
So our game isn't like completely like Serbian or Greek or whatever, but it is fun to have Milan
Hmm.
kind of like inject our cultures
Right.
into the music
Hmm.
itself. So the other thing as well that's been fun, like we said, with Lee being one of the voice actors in the game, is we've been trying to cast our entire character cast as traveling musicians. So our our main voice actor is Essinger. If you've heard of him before, he plays Traveler, and he also plays one of the other characters that's
Secret.
secret,
Super secret.
super secret. Um, but yeah, it's been fun working with musicians on this project as well, and it makes the whole process feel very much like artsy, right? Like
Hmm.
pretty much everyone we're working with is artists and musicians, which has
Hmm.
been fun.
Everyone kind of understands the medium, and
Yeah.
they know that, they might not get it on the first try, or they know that it's a creative process, and no one really gets frustrated or anything. It's
Mhm.
like, we just kind of work through everything and make everything feel right,
And
like it
and
belongs in the game.
and because the story is very much like a personal story
Hmm.
about like, dealing with loss, dealing with your inspiration, loss of inspiration as well. I feel like our musicians are also like getting that when they're voice acting the
Right.
characters, and same with our artists as well. I mean, it's a very human emotion, but I think especially in the arts, it's something that we feel as a huge burden on us, right? Because we always want to be like better. We always like really want to overcome these obstacles, and
Hmm.
we get frustrated along the way because art is difficult
Hmm.
to master. So yeah, I mean, it's just been fun like putting this
Right.
emotion into the game,
Nick, can you make a sad face?
on the spot.
Yeah. Make us. Can you make an angry
I
face?
we could clip those out as a
Yeah.
thumbnail.
There you go.
Yeah. This is so random and off topic, but
Yeah.
you know how Nora used to go,
Yeah. Yeah.
Leon has started doing this
Oh yeah.
too. I didn't even show him that face. He just
Hmm.
started doing it one day.
Really?
I'm like, what are you doing, dude?
I think it's like a progression stage. It's like
Yeah.
a level that
Yeah.
they cross.
Yeah.
So funny.
It's leveled up. Cool.
Mhm.
All right. So why don't we talk about some of the other games that we've been really impressed by their soundtracks? And I think specifically what we're discussing with music is like,
Evolution of music.
well, not only that, but like I think what makes the music soundtrack impactful is that it really stands out.
Hmm.
And I know that probably sounds super obvious, but I do think certain games you play and you're kind of like, yeah, this sounds like orchestral, just like something in a movie, and it kind of
Hmm.
fits, but it's not music forward. So I think the ones we're going to be discussing are like it's apparent that the musicians just went like
Right.
ham on their
Yeah.
soundtracks, right?
That's what I miss about old school games. Like, I felt like the musicians put so much effort into
Mm.
everything. And you can tell
Like there's a theme for every
every
character, every
character.
situation.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
and they had these like crazy like guitar piano solos, and
Yep.
like every song you're like, dude, like these guys just went so ham on
I
like
know.
all these soundtracks. Like, one that really sticks out to me from like a long time ago,
Yeah.
this is for PS2, was Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist of the Roses.
Oh yeah, you talk about that one a lot.
And oh my god,
You showed me some of the tracks too.
yeah, they're just like gorgeous soundtracks. Like,
Mhm.
I can't believe that somebody like made these. They're
Yeah.
so good. And they work so well when you're playing the game. There's no lyrics or anything, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, they're just gorgeous tracks, and someone clearly put a lot of thought and effort into all of them.
I think what's interesting about that game in particular is that one of the games that's like it's just the card game, right?
No, it's actually like it's the same cards, but you
Uh-huh.
move them on like a tile set map,
Oh,
and
cool.
then you can like they're face down, so you can like flip them up, and they're like surprises to your opponent. You have to attack your opponent,
But
basically.
it is more, it's like strategic as opposed to like you're running third person with a
Right.
character or something.
Right.
I think what makes sense for a game like that is to go hardcore on the music,
Mm-hmm.
because you kind of just want to sit there and like enjoy a soundtrack and like do your
Right. That's a
tactical
good
thing
point.
and
Yeah.
think. So I think that's a good opportunity
Hmm.
to do that.
And it gets you in the zone.
Yeah.
It just like pumps you up.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like your last duel of your life, basically.
Yeah. And what's been interesting too is some of these older games, it's like they'll go really crazy with the theming, but then it's like because it's so intricate, it will end up being really repetitive.
Mm,
But sometimes it's like they're going all out with like full feature length songs and
right.
like combat scenarios or whatever.
Yeah.
So for example, the one that always comes to my mind, and I feel like this is kind of a contested soundtrack for whatever reason, but the Final Fantasy 15 soundtrack
Hmm.
was bonkers, dude. It was
Hmm.
like it had that range of like there was like opera, there was
Yeah.
like rock, there was metal, there was like some like Western kind of influence when they
Right.
were like in the American town
Right.
kind of
Desert.
places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw the orchestra live. Remember that? That
Dude.
was one of the craziest things I ever saw.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we when we showcased our previous like demo Mask of Semblance at, what was it, PAX 20
PAX East,
PAX
2019, I think.
2019?
I think
Okay.
it was 2019.
Yeah, and it just so happened that there was a Final Fantasy 15 orchestra at the show, and because we were
Free concert.
free concert, yeah, so we got to just go.
Yeah.
And I think the composers were actually, one of the composers was one of the guys playing the guitar, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and the keyboardist was from the Chainsmokers. He was like
Was he?
I think so, yeah.
Dude, that was crazy. It felt like a metal show too, which
Yeah.
was nuts.
was
It's like they were
badass.
like headbanging and stuff.
They had like the opera, like all these like people in the choir
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
stuff. It was epic.
Oh man, that was probably one of the
Yeah.
coolest shows I've actually
So
ever
cool.
seen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that game had an amazing soundtrack. And
Mhm.
speaking of that, speaking of like opera in games, I think that like hits me real hard. It's like
Right.
I've actually never gone to see an opera, but because I've enjoyed opera in video games, I'm like, man, I think I would like to go
Mhm.
to an opera. Have you ever been to one?
I don't think I've ever been to an actual like opera show.
Mm.
I've seen plays, but
Hmm.
doesn't compare.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's different. There's more
Mhm.
like that big
Gusto.
yeah,
Yeah.
gusto. Oh man, but it's
Yeah.
like the one I think about going back to Final Fantasy. I'm sure everyone knows this one. Like the one winged angel
Yeah.
is like just such an epic
Na,
song.
na, na, na,
I
na.
know.
Yeah.
When a bad guy like has his own bad guy opera track, you
Yeah.
know you're in for it. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's been really sick. The other thing in general as well that I enjoy in game soundtracks is when there's actual vocals, and it's
Mhm.
like I like when it's hits at a very specific moment. So the one that sticks out, I know you played this game too, but Snake Eater.
Mhm.
You know, I think it rolls in the credits. Oh wait, no. You know what? Doesn't it roll when he's like climbing up a really tall ladder? Isn't that when the music starts? When the woman starts singing?
Dude, I
That
haven't
was a
played
long
Snake
time
Eater
ago.
in so long, but I do recall there was a lot of female vocals in there.
There's the specific theme song
Mhm.
called Snake Eater.
Right,
Yeah.
Snake Eater.
Yes. I
Yeah.
think it comes on when he's like climbing a ladder, and it
Right.
was just so freaking cool, man.
Mhm.
I love that. Do you have any other ones you can think about with
With like
vocals?
vocals. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, so many. I mean, one big one that a lot of people will probably know is Persona
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
That game was just such a huge hit,
Yeah.
and I mean, those soundtracks are all bangers.
Yeah.
Like all of them.
Yeah.
Like you could just listen to any track on there, and it's just so well designed,
Mhm.
and like obviously the talent is incredible,
Mhm.
and they're just amazing songs for just everyday actions in the game, and also like the combat. Like
Yeah.
you get into a combat scenario, and it's just this like girl singing like at this like
Yeah.
kind of like groovy pace, and you're
Yep.
like, all right, I gotta kill some monsters.
I think that game probably has one of the best variations in soundtracks
Mhm.
based on the mood, because the gameplay is so diverse, and it's
Mhm.
like in one point you're like,
Yeah.
you have a job where you're like sweeping, and it's like they
Yeah.
have a cool soundtrack
Yeah,
for that,
yeah.
and then you're like in the gun shop buying
Right.
guns, and they've got
Yeah,
another
the gun
soundtrack
shop.
for
Yeah.
that.
And it's yeah, every soundtrack is just so different, unique.
Yeah.
See, that's what I miss about like older games too. Is like
Yeah. I mean, that game's pretty new.
I know, but I feel like that's like a thing from older games.
Yeah, I agree.
Where everything just kind of has its own flavor of track.
And I think that goes back to the Yu-Gi-Oh example as well, where you're kind of just like sitting there and you're having to think a lot. You're like, buying stuff, you're picking your abilities or whatever. So it's kind of nice to kind of get in the zone with these soundtracks.
Another one is, I mean, this is my favorite soundtrack. My number one ranked soundtrack of all time.
Yeah.
And it's Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
Yeah, I could have guessed
that. And I mean, that game just has such a crazy variety of music.
Yeah.
And it goes from like, slower songs to like fast paced rock and metal and like Crush 40, I think is the name of the band that does a lot of the music in that. So they just have such interesting like tracks for all of them. Like all the Shadow levels have like guitar and like these dark vibes. All the Sonic levels are like, yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Like
and then
super upbeat, but also like really fast.
Yeah. But it's like melodic. Like everything just kind of has like a melody to it, and it doesn't feel like just some generic audio that's there and whatnot. And not to say that generic isn't like needed at times. I think
sometimes
there's a time and place for it, right? But in a game like this, to have that much variety across the entire game, it's incredible.
I think it's like when you're playing a game and you kind of stop what you're doing, you're like, oh my god, this music is amazing. That's when right? Another one that I just thought of when you were talking about Sonic is did you play DMC3, Devil May Cry 3 back in the day?
I played 4 and I haven't played 5 yet, actually.
I think you would love 3.
Oh, actually, I played Devil May Cry, but I didn't play Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah. Well, Devil May Cry 3, it starts off with Dante and Virgil sword fighting on top of like this huge cathedral building, and it's like raining, and then there's like I don't know,
I've
maybe
seen the cutscene.
Yeah, and there's like this song going on in the background, and it's just like it's so cool, dude.
Yeah.
I would boot up that game and just like pick new game multiple times just to watch the intro.
Right.
And oh man, there's a lot of games like that. The other one I can think of is you guys know I'm a huge FF nerd, but Final Fantasy VIII. Did you ever see that intro?
Final Fantasy VIII.
That's with Squall, and there's like the witch.
Ultimecia.
Is that what
She's the last boss, I think, right?
I know
of her, but I haven't played 8.
You should watch we'll watch that maybe in the car ride. We should listen to some of these.
I'll watch that when I'm driving.
Yeah. We'll listen to it while you're driving. But anyway, that's another one. It starts off with this like really epic opera music, and it just like gets you like, you're like, man, I know what I'm getting into with this game. That's actually really cool when when there's an intro track that's like pumping you up for how the game is going to begin.
That's like, that reminds me of if anyone's played Soul Calibur 2.
No, actually I think I read to that
really
from Blockbuster.
sick like intro cutscene.
Did it?
It was like I remember back in the day like having those
the high quality
intros to the games. That was like premium. Like if a game had that, it's like you knew it was going to be good.
Yeah.
And it had one of those, and it had like an epic like intro and introduced a bunch of characters. And based on which version of the game you had, it showed
like Link or Spawn, right?
Or Heihachi. Yeah.
That's
I wanted the one with Link in it, and I ended up getting the one for PS2, and I didn't know that Link wasn't in that one. So I got Heihachi. But he was good. He was a good character.
Yeah.
Heihachi was strong.
Nice.
Anyway,
music. I haven't played that game in a really long time. All right, let me tell you my number one. I'm sure you're gonna know this one too, but it's Nier. The music from Nier. It's like, that is a game where I will literally just like, I'll put the soundtrack on while I'm working just to listen to it, because I'm like,
forgot about that. You were so into
wonderful, dude. What's so cool about the soundtrack in Nier is the fact that the woman that sings a lot of the tracks, she basically like made up a language to sing in. And it like kind of sounds Japanese. It kind of has like a German like tick to it as well. Like it just feels very ethereal and weird.
Hmm.
And it fits the game because the game itself is ethereal and weird. And I'm specifically talking about the first Nier, I guess, or Nier Replicant, not Nier Automata. Even though Nier Automata had awesome music too, but man, the first Nier just like hit different. It was like
Hmm.
that same thing where you're just running around the map and this woman's just like singing, and you're just like, man, I have the feels right now, you know?
Hmm.
And I love that getting into a game when you feel emotional when you're just like even wandering around.
Right.
I think Final Fantasy 15 kind of did that to me as well. It's just like
Hmm.
this is it's like beautiful, you
Right.
know? Um, so yeah, I think in terms of, I mean, I'm very much a metalhead myself,
Hmm.
but in terms of my game
Music choice.
music choices, like I think I'm pretty varied in what I like.
Yeah.
Um
We
because
get a lot of our metal out in our music.
yeah,
So
yeah.
having other types of music in our when we play video games is like a nice breath of fresh air, I
Yeah.
guess.
But I do think a lot of inspiration for a lot of metal is classical, right? Like there's
Right.
classical scales and modes and stuff like that, and I enjoy a lot of the classical music in games. So I think why don't we jump into Zelda? Why don't you tell us what you think about Zelda music?
Yeah, so Zelda, let's talk about Zelda real quick cuz I personally really loved Tears of the Kingdom.
Hmm.
And it was a gorgeous game, and look, thinking about the soundtrack,
Hmm.
I'd have to say that, it was a gorgeous soundtrack, but I felt like it left a bit to be desired because it almost felt, and this is a thing with new games, right?
Hmm.
A lot of the music is blended together,
Mm.
right? And it's almost like this ambience of
Yeah.
music. And I love ambient music, but I just remember back in like Ocarina of Time, for
Hmm.
example, you go to a new place and it's like
Dun,
it
dun,
has a
dun, dun, dun,
distinct.
dun, 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 dun,
Yes,
dun, dun,
exactly.
dun, dun,
It
dun.
has a distinct
Yeah.
soundtrack, and you remember that distinct soundtrack because
Yeah.
that was the track for that area. It wasn't
Yeah.
a blend of the place you just came from
Hmm.
into the new area and a very like quiet soundtrack. You can almost like not even make it out,
Yeah.
right? Um, very very distinct music. I mean, there's a couple tracks in Tears of the Kingdom that I really liked,
Hmm.
but there was just so few and far between. The rest were just kind of ambient tracks and like
Yeah.
beautiful, peaceful village tracks. And
Yeah, and I think it's a couple things. Part of it is just a trend that's happening right now,
right.
but part of it is the game design itself. And I've thought about this because we've discussed this off camera before.
Mhm.
But what's kind of, I don't know how they would have had kind of a looping track in the overworld, for example, because of how big it is and because how much time you're spending just like wandering around. You know, like
Mhm.
even in Ocarina of Time, it like feels like a big open world, but honestly, like to get from one place to another, it's like maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds, especially if you're spamming roll the
But
whole
in
time.
Zelda, they have multiple days right before the Blood Moon. They could have
Hmm.
basically like assigned a different track
That's
for
true.
each new day,
Yeah.
and that could have like kept a lot, made it like feel fresh every day. And you could
Hmm.
also be like, okay, I think I'm getting close to the Blood Moon day
Hmm.
because the soundtrack is this specific
Yeah.
soundtrack, right? Or it becomes like the new bass track or whatever it is, right? So
I wonder if
yeah.
anybody has like stitched old school Zelda music to like Tears of the Kingdom gameplay,
Mm,
because just trying to picture it in my head, I definitely think it would impact how you feel while playing. And I
mm,
think part of it is like you're kind of in the zone because you're just like hearing the birds chirping, and then there's like the little
right.
piano melodies. And I'm not even
Hmm.
disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to like think like how it would feel different if
Right.
it was like old school
Well,
Zelda.
yeah, because I mean, in old school Zelda, like let's take Ocarina again for
Yeah.
example. As soon as you step out into Hyrule Field,
Hmm.
it goes like ba-da-dam, bum,
Yeah,
ba
yeah,
ba
yeah.
ba ba, and then you're kind of like it's just kind of like this tune of
Adventure.
adventure
Yeah.
tune, but because the area is kind of not as big, not even
Hmm.
close to being as big as Tears of the Kingdom, it's acceptable because you're not going to be in Hyrule Field for that long,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
It maybe
Um,
loops like 2 or 3 times by the
right,
time you're at your next objective.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, in cases like that, it's definitely acceptable, but I don't know. I think they could have done other things.
Yeah, yeah, like that maybe there could have been some sort of compromise
Yeah.
in general. Yeah, it is interesting to think about.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think I think the way they executed it is just the way they executed it. I mean, I'm interested to see what they would do for a next game, especially because we don't even know if it's going to be like big open world like that again or more, whatever.
I'll tell you what I like to see.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I like to see them remaster Ocarina of Time, but I want to make it better and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they would still keep like the same
Mm-hmm.
like locations you go to.
Yeah.
But maybe like when you're a kid, you have like maybe a couple more dungeons, or like you go back
Give
and
it
forth
FF7 remake treatment.
Right.
Like add quests and
Well, not even so much that, but like go like back and forth through time multiple times and give Link a purpose to go back and forth multiple times. Maybe add some new dungeons. Add some new gameplay mechanics. But keep the feel the same. Keep this. Even I would say keep the soundtracks the same too, because that would feel the most nostalgic in my opinion. Maybe remix them a bit, but yeah.
Yeah, you know what's
and nicer graphics.
Of course,
not like the current,
3DS
not the current version of graphics they're working with for Tears of the Kingdom and stuff.
Oh no, we want like Unreal 5.
Yes.
Yeah, graphics. We've all seen those videos, and it's just like, oh, why can't Nintendo give us something like that, man? I would. Oh man, that would make my day. I feel like that would be a game too that it's like I could just replay that over and over because I could just live in that world. But what that kind of makes me think about Zelda soundtracks in general is soundtracks that are just so iconic that it's just like if you're even slightly a gamer, you know this stuff. Right. So like everybody knows the Zelda theme. There's some other ones too off the top of my head, like the Halo theme. And the Skyrim theme as well. It's like everybody knows these themes, and it's like I haven't even really played Halo, and I still know it, and I still think it's badass.
It's so distinct.
It's so distinct, and unique.
That was like honestly the Halo. I can say the Halo soundtrack, and like that main Halo track was like a cultural pivot point.
It was,
because it just inspired so many people, and everyone just knew Halo. It was like the new era of like online gaming. Halo.
Yeah.
So that was just such a cool cultural moment.
I think so too, man.
And I've watched videos of them in the studio, like coming up with the music and stuff. And they had Steve Vai, the guy who did Eruption, who wrote Eruption. He did like the solo on like the main Halo track. So, so cool that they were able to like. He like did it by accident too. He was like playing on the guitar in the studio.
Really?
And he's like he just like did a lick, and and then he just kept going. And they just recorded it, and they were like, "Dude, that was amazing." So that's like the beauty of music, right? It's just like just appears.
Yeah, the other one that I always love. I don't know if you would be familiar with this. This isn't as big, I don't think, as the Halo one, but like the Assassin's Creed theme, like the start screen theme. Oh, dude.
They had the chase theme in the first and second one, I think. Like when when you're like being chased.
I don't remember.
It's I gotta it's called like the Animus theme.
Yeah. It's
like,
probably the same one.
And it's like when you're like running through and you're being chased by people.
I don't know that one.
We'll have to give that one a listen.
Yeah. We'll listen to all these in the car.
All right.
Yeah, let me think about some other ones.
Here's a recent one we played.
Yeah.
Sea of Stars.
Oh yeah.
And we talked about the music already about Sea of Stars, but we can't let it go by without giving another mention. Wow.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
words
really good
for how amazing it is.
It's interesting though, because it's like I don't even know how to describe, and maybe somebody in the comments can kind of describe what I'm talking about, but like that game reminds me of the music from Donkey Kong Country. And obviously Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross. It's like it has this weird, like, I don't even know what it is. It's like this tropical
influence.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I mean it's very
and sometimes
open.
I don't know if I like it. Like I like the soundtrack as a whole, but certain songs and certain noises from that style of music, it like isn't my thing. You know what I mean?
I can see that.
Do you have other games like that where you're kind of like, I know this is technically good, like technically on a technical level, really good, but you're not like into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean there's plenty of games that have been like that for me. Am I going to think of one off the spot right now? I don't know, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely songs where I'm like, wow, this is amazing, but it's not really like my cup of tea
Yeah.
type of thing. But I still acknowledge that, it's an amazing track
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
nonetheless. I just thought of a game too that I wanted to point out, and I can't remember what it was.
Sorry.
um, Custom Robo was
Oh,
one for the GameCube. Very small niche game, which
that
I
probably
didn't think
has
was neat.
music like Sonic, right? Is it in a
They
similar?
don't have lyrics. It's very
But is
like
it like fast rock kind of?
it's more like techno, like fast
Oh, yeah,
techno.
okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And very like melodic,
Early
fast-paced techno.
2000s
Yeah.
techno kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had like, oh man, just such amazing like melodies in these
Mm.
songs, and they just
You're
stuck with
really
you.
into the hooky melodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very like melodic into
Yeah.
melodic music because I grew up listening to a lot of melodic death metal,
Yeah,
right?
like Dark
And Dark
Tranquility.
Tranquility
Yeah.
and like Soilwork and In Flames
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
Children of Bodom, and I thought that those all kind of have like very sound melodies in their tracks. Keyboards, big synth
Yeah.
guy growing up.
See, that's another thing too, where
So
it's like sometimes I love it, and then sometimes it's like it feels like it's too much for me. I like a little bit more. I don't know what you call it, randomness
mhm,
maybe. Sometimes melodic
progressive
music, yeah,
sound,
progressive.
right,
Because sometimes melodic music can be like it feels like you're just hearing the same
right,
notes over and over, which sometimes is awesome, but then other times I'm like, ah, it's just too much for me.
yeah,
Um,
I get that.
uh, I think another studio that does an amazing job with their music is Supergiant Games. Like all of their games just have
Mm,
these like amazing soundtracks, and they kind of do the same thing
yeah,
where they'll always have like a female singer or something like that sing like a very special
hmm,
song that really stands out in the game. And I think their composer's name is Darren Korb,
or
who's also a guitarist too,
hmm,
right?
yeah,
And I think that's also interesting is when composers specifically are guitarists.
right,
Like our musician Milan is a guitarist, like
mm,
kind of first and foremost. And um,
kind
yeah,
of
I feel like it's
understand the
just
language.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like it's a very versatile instrument where it's kind of like if you it's just like if you know piano, it's like you can kind of
yeah,
understand how to write anything
right.
once you know those instruments. Um, So yeah, another franchise I can't not talk about is Kingdom Hearts.
Hmm,
It's gonna be kind of the same as like FF15 and stuff like that, where it has like the really like nice town themes and then the sweeping orchestral
right.
stuff. But man, dude, like those songs too it's I would say on par with Zelda for me, where it's
Really.
like those tracks just I know them by
Hmm,
heart, they stick in my head, and then it also has the that those intro songs by what's her name Hikaru what is her name, Hikaru Utada or something like that, but she always does these like really beautiful.
she the one who does the commercial for Kingdom Hearts?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but the those are always the intro
Right.
songs for the game, so like
Yeah.
it gets you like
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
feel of the game. And in Kingdom Hearts 3 she partnered with Skrillex
Oh,
to do
okay.
one of the songs, which was really
I remember
sick.
when Kingdom Hearts was first coming out, they had the commercial on
Yep,
TV with the girl singing.
yep,
They were like on the
that's her.
beach or something, and I was like,
Yep.
I like that song,
It's
but I never
so
got to
good,
play it.
dude. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's see what else. Did you play Cuphead yet?
No.
Do you know about
Of
Cuphead
course
though,
I know
right?
Cuphead, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That one was cool too. It's like again, that's like I don't know if I'm like super like I wouldn't just like listen to
Mm.
like old school jazz, but in a game like that, it was really cool. I believe they hired an entire jazz ensemble, like
Wow.
live jazz
Really?
ensemble to record. It was like they were like, yeah, we're drawing our frames on. Well, did they draw their frames on paper? I think they
Were
did.
they drawing the frames while the orchestra was playing? Dun, 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 dun. It was just
Actually, did they draw? No, I think maybe it was the backgrounds were done. I don't know, something was done traditionally, but yeah, man, they went they went all out with that game, and that was really cool to see. It's another example of just like
right.
when you can tell that the artistry is like forward, right?
Mhm.
It makes the game special.
How do you feel about games that use soundtracks from artists that are already established? Like I can
Oh,
remember
that's a good
one like
question.
Devil May Cry had that. Kojima's game Death Stranding had that.
Yeah.
And just like songs picked out from artists that are already out there.
That's very interesting because I don't want to say I'm conflicted, but for example, with Death Stranding, I'd never heard of any of those bands before.
Right.
And I think because they weren't like these super poppy, it was almost like he handpicked bands and songs that really felt like they were already in the world, But sometimes I think this is especially like a sin with movies is when they're like, "Oh, we're gonna put like an Aerosmith song or a Journey song in here." I'm like, just write a song, man.
Yeah.
It's like you could have gotten it cheap. You could have gotten a cheaper musician than paying for the license for this one song that everybody's heard a billion times.
Yeah.
That bothers me.
I know. I get what you mean. I understand like they want people to like hear the song and like it brings out their like
song.
it brings out like their emotion with that song.
Yeah.
For that moment. But I agree. Like,
I don't think there's ever been a situation of that where I'm like, oh, they should have done that instead of just gotten a new song made.
I mean, I think that's one thing that kind of annoys me about like all the Marvel movies is they just love to do that in all the Marvel movies, especially in like
all of them.
Not in all of them. I guess I'm thinking of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
but I think
that was
that's
kind
also
of the
part
point.
of the story. It's part of the story too. So I can get that.
Yeah,
maybe I'm just talking out of my head, but I agree.
But I know what you mean. Yeah, it's like it comes off as cheesy, even if the movie wasn't intending it to be cheesy.
I will say though that if I ever had an opportunity to just put all my favorite songs into a game, I'd probably take it.
Would you? But would you though? I feel like it would be better, like we're doing, like hire the musicians themselves to write new stuff
for just a game. It doesn't have to be for
No, of course.
Just because I don't know.
just because.
Cool. Just because, yeah. Like you just love those tracks. Yes.
Oh man,
there's actually really a time a while ago. There was a song by Boo that I really liked. It was like an interlude song.
Oh, was it one? I think it was called Interlude, right?
Yeah, it's called Omniscient.
Omniscient. Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this song is so cool. It made like a really cool like menu scene song or something, and or like a credit song. I was like, oh man, gotta build a game and
gotta build a game to fit it in.
Yeah. So cool stuff.
Nice. All right. Do you have any other ones you wanted to bring up?
I've so many soundtracks. Like I guess maybe you can think about like racing game soundtracks. Old school for me would be Mario Kart Double Dash and Diddy Kong Racing. If anyone's played Diddy Kong Racing,
I don't remember what the music was like.
That's another game where it's like they have so many bangers. Like every level is just so different, or like they have water levels and the water levels have like this horn in them. Like you can tell it's like a water level because it's got that horn in it.
Yeah.
And then the snow levels have like a little jingle sounds in them to like Christmas time jingles.
I love that.
I'm like,
particularly the snow songs in racing games.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, it just feels so cozy.
It is, yeah. And so they did such a good job with, and then like you go into like the mountains and the lava areas, and it's like these like I don't know, like Middle Eastern like gypsy style songs, huh?
Are we gonna put a lava area in our game?
We're putting a lava and a snow area. Oh, and a sand area.
Oh my god, Arman's always just like, let's have the most art we can possibly make to put into the game.
Yeah, let's not be in a forest forever.
The forest has volcanoes suddenly.
Oh, that'd be cool actually if it was volcano.
Yeah.
We could do like 3D painted or 2D hand painted volcano.
All right, I think that's a good place to end it. But yeah, guys, like we said, be sure to check out Traveler's Refrain on Steam Wishlist. We will have that public demo available for Steam Next Fest, which is going to be really fun. Come hang out with us in our Discord. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast. We put these out every Friday. And until next time, see you guys later.
See ya.
Bye, guys.